Hey guys, so this video applies, if you're sending in a hardship letter, especially if you have an FHA loan and you're trying to apply for a modification or a short sale, oftentimes the investor through the servicers will require what's called proof of hardship. So sometimes, depending on your bank, your servicer, and your investor, it will be enough to just send in a hardship letter and tell them, hey, here's my hardship. They'll believe you, and they'll move forward. Other times they'll ask for you to submit some proof in addition to submitting your hardship letter. And so the purpose of this video is to just kind of walk through proof, because proof can be a lot more broad than I think the lenders make clear. So if you're using the hardship reason of job loss, which we talked about in our other video, if you haven't watched the hardship reasons yet, watch that. But if you're using job loss, these are various things that can provide proof that you lost your job. Obviously, a termination letter, a letter of resignation, or some sort of formal letter from your company saying that you no longer work there, that will always count as proof of hardship. Sometimes companies, especially smaller companies that are a little more disorganized, don't always issue those. And so something else that will count will be a letter or a email or something in writing from your HR department of your former company. So if you didn't receive a formal resignation letter or termination letter, and you don't have anything to show them from the company saying that you don't work there anymore, you can get back with your company and just ask them, hey, can you email me and tell me in an email the date that I stopped working for this company? And then you just kind of print that email out and attach that, and that will count as proof of hardship. Informal emails or letters from your boss. So if you were working for a smaller company or as a contract employee and they don't have an HR department that can email you, you can always just go to the person that was your boss and ask them to sign and date a letter saying on this day, your name was let go of their job, or on this was their last day of employment. Have them sign and date it, and then you'll want to tell the bank who that person is, that they were your boss. And so obviously you want to always provide the most formal proof of hardship, but if you don't have the HR department and you didn't get a termination letter and you don't have anything formal, just go to the person who was in charge of you and ask them to write you a letter and tell them to tell the bank when you stopped working for them. Okay, divorce or separation. Obviously, proof of hardship for a divorce would be a copy of your divorce decree or your separation document, depending on what state you're in. If you are a person who is not yet legally divorced, but there are two households because you have formally separated, when it comes time to ask for proof of hardship, you're going to have to be a little bit creative to think about how you can show the bank that you are legally separated. The easiest way to do this is to send separate utility bills. So if one partner has moved out of the house, they should have an electric bill or a phone bill or a cable or internet bill or something going to their new residence. You can send utility bills with different addresses, and then you attach a little letter saying, hey, we're not formally divorced yet. I don't have a formal divorce decree to provide you, but here are two utility bills evidencing that we live at separate property locations. That will work. Okay, we're on to the death of the borrower hardship reason. There's only really one proof of hardship document that you can send for this, which is obviously the death certificate. Not too much to say here. Let's move on to the illness of borrower or illness of someone in the household. So there's a lot of different ways we can prove this hardship. I'm just going to go through a few of them here. So doctor's bills, doctor's notes, an insurance billing statement, prescription receipts, drugstore bills. So those are kind of listed in order of what's most persuasive. If you have your insurance billing statement showing that you've been having to make co-pays toward these increased medical bills, if you have the actual copies of the medical bills, which your doctor or your hospital or whatever happened to you, they should be able to provide that to you. Those are obviously the most persuasive. If you don't have those formal medical bills, but you have something showing receipts for prescriptions or receipts for something you had to buy to accommodate your medical illness, you'll want to demonstrate these and use these. One thing that has worked, if you have none of that, but you're spending money, like if you're spending cash to help support your illness, you'll want to take your bank statement and highlight the deposits and then the withdrawals, meaning highlight the withdrawals, highlight the times you took out money to pay for your illness. And then anytime you do that, attach a letter to tell them why those withdrawals are highlighted. So no need to use your bank statement if you have formal documentation from your doctor or your hospital. If you don't have that, yet you've been making big withdrawals to somehow cover these medical expenses, you'll want to show them the bank statement, highlight the withdrawals, and attach a short letter of explanation letting them know what that's for. Always go with the most formal proof first. If you don't have that, the bank statement is kind of your last resort. Okay, last hardship reason with proof of hardship is the unforeseen increased expenses. So like I said, if you haven't watched the other video about the hardship reasons, watch that first. But if you're using this, here's a bunch of things that count as proof of hardship. So contractor bills, repair estimates. If you're saying that your home underwent some repairs that you had to pay for to keep it in habitable condition, you're going to want to make sure that you show them the bills that you spent on the house. Make sure that the dates line up. Make sure that it makes sense with what you're saying. If you had to travel for an emergency in your family or a work emergency or something you weren't anticipating, travel receipts, credit card statements showing that you had to, charge a bunch of, travel, lodging, things like that. For the increased household expenses, it's difficult for me to say exactly what it's going to look like, but there are times where you will have to pull your bank statement again, find the withdrawals that went toward those expenses, and then explain it to the bank. So if, you had some catastrophic thing happen and you withdrew, $3,000 2 months in a row to cover this increased expense, get your bank statement, use that as the proof of hardship, highlight where those withdrawals were, and then attach a letter telling the bank, this bank statement is my proof of hardship, because you can see that there's money coming out for these increased expenses. That's about it for proof of hardship. You don't need to send in proof of hardship right away. You can always just start with a hardship letter in your package. If you have an FHA loan, you should expect them to request proof of hardship. Sometimes banks will request it anyway, but you don't have to do this at the beginning. Get your package going, and then if they request proof of hardship, be prepared.